Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're watching Greenwave TV Alternative Media Television. Couple quick notes. President Barack Obama made some outlandish comments yesterday, equating Trayvon Martin not only, and he did this a few months ago, 18 months ago, when the Trayvon tragedy actually took place, likening Trayvon Martin as if it could have been his own son, therefore incriminating Zimmerman before he even had a chance at a fair trial, which is direct and blatant and reckless interference with our judicial and justice system, the Constitution itself, prevented and may have prevented George Zimmerman from even getting a fair trial. Now, after receiving a trial and being judged in front of a jury of his peers who looked at the evidence and in effect acquitted him in a court of law, now the president, because he didn't get his way and because these racial and race dividers, people like Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Al Sharpton, and the Mr. Jealous, are now on the hunt for double jeopardy, which again is anti-constitutional, totally anti-American. And President Barack Obama came on camera, surprised everybody, didn't really surprise me. Again, this is what I expect from a divide and conquer president. This is very much the political agenda. Said that Trayvon Martin could have been him 30 years ago. It could have been me, is what he said. So there is a clear, and what this tells me, and what this tells the American people, is that there is a clear agenda behind all of this. Because essentially what President Barack Obama did yesterday is fan the flames. Fan the flames for more hatred, more violence, more racism, and of course they are hoping to propel this into a federal investigation, which would be double jeopardy. Again, totally anti-constitutional in this country. You cannot do that. And it is important to know that this is a political agenda, and this is a part of their strategy to divide and conquer the American people, to create such rage among the populace that we're focused on fighting each other, and that we take our focus off of what really matters and what's really happening geopolitically. Now, earlier this week, a few days ago, a leading general here in the United States says Obama is weighing his options for a full attack and invasion of Syria. Now, I've been reporting on this for 36 months. I told you 36 months ago that the president, I've done dozens and dozens of videos on this, would invade Syria, that this was a part of his program, because, of course, Syria is a gateway into Iran. Iran is the second largest OPEC oil-producing nation in the world. There's a tremendous amount of wealth there. It's the same reason that the president invaded Libya, began trafficking guns through his CIA liaison, Christopher Stevens, among others, have been trafficking guns after toppling Libya and helping the murder and assassination of Muammar Gaddafi to arm the rebels and the insurgents that are linked to Al-Qaeda in Syria. So this has been a part of the agenda. And again, while the people are fighting each other, when they are actually falling into Obama's trap, falling into the rage, and taking their anger out on each other, they are failing to recognize that not only are they being stolen from, which was clear in 2008, the largest transfer of wealth in history, moving out of the hands of the general public and the middle class, the hardworking people, to the same criminals that caused the collapse in the first place, but there's also a clear agenda for war. And this has been a part of the long-term destabilization effort in the Middle East to, in my opinion, control a region and to keep fighting. Very much the same strategy that they're implementing now with this divide and conquer among African Americans and whites in our country. The same thing has been implemented and engineered in the Middle East to keep warring nations destabilized, to help propel revolutions under the guise of democratization and freedom when that couldn't be anything further from the truth. Now, I want you to pay attention to this because President Barack Obama is going to sell you on the idea, and this is how he's going to pitch it through the mainstream media and via his teleprompter reading in his speeches. He's going to pitch to you, the American people, the idea that in order to stop the senseless murder of innocent Syrians by the Bashar al-Assad regime, that he himself is going to invade and kill and murder innocent Syrian civilians in order to stop the murder and killing of innocent Syrian civilians by the Bashar al-Assad regime. Does that make any sense to you at all? So the United States is going to help propel more war, help propel more death, more killing, is going to send our kids, our children, our loved ones overseas, young men, young women, to step on IEDs, to be shot at, and to shoot others. And we've seen some of the grotesque nature of these wars very recently. We've seen this, of course, with the vivid imagery of soldiers in the Middle East pissing and urinating over the dead bodies of Iraqi soldiers, I believe it was. May have been in Afghanistan. Correct me if I'm wrong. But we've seen this violent imagery. We've seen how this propaganda is affecting the world's perception of the United States. A good portion of the world, which, by the way, hates America, hates the U.S. Russia and China, for example. Russia, its largest war games in decades having taken place over the past few days. We haven't seen war games on this scale since really the collapse of the USSR. The United States is really repeating the same mistakes that we've seen in history that has collapsed great civilizations. But the reason that Russia and China are allies aren't because Russia necessarily likes China. And Russia was very much showing a signal to China like, look, we've still got power in this area. But it's because they're very anti-American. They're very anti-U.S. sentiment, which is why they are allies and they are a team, as well as other countries are in helping the collapse and helping to accelerate the collapse here in the U.S. This has all been an inside job. This has all been engineered by President Barack Obama, the corporatists that control him, to not only divide and conquer America, but to literally destroy it from the inside out. This is a Saul Alinsky community organizer tactic. And I encourage you to study this. I've studied this in quite amount of detail. I've read dozens of books on it. This is a divide and conquer strategy, and it's a strategy to destroy the American people from the inside out. What do you do then? What am I saying? You know, do we just live in fear? Do we allow these people to do this? No, we need to wake up and realize now is not the time to fight each other. Now is not the time to take the bait like a fish to grab a hook so that you can, go to your death. Now is the time to not fight each other, to not engage in a race war, not engage in any of this hatred or racism, and focus on the real issues. If there's any anger and there's any rage, it should be directed to the federal government. It should be directed at Washington. It should be directed at Wall Street. It should be directed at the President of the United States, who, in my opinion, his comments are, it's abundantly clear that he himself is a racist, and hating individual. To willfully and intentionally, in my opinion, fan the flames of a divide and conquer strategy and, in effect, a race war in America that's going to cost people's lives. We're already seeing people fighting each other in the streets. Protests have been planned in 100 cities to carry out over this weekend. This is incredibly dangerous, and this is something the President of the United States has helped to orchestrate, along with the race pimps that are Reverend Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and Mr. Jealous. Get this out to the American people. Get the truth out. And remember, don't fight each other. Focus the energy where it needs to be focused. Understand what's happening geopolitically and at a governmental level at the central authority which makes up the corrupt federal government today in the United States. Focus on that. Let's organize. Let's be proactive. And let's make sure that these people are held accountable and that the American people take back this country, take back this constitutional republic, and hold our system, which was set up with checks and balances from the very beginning. This is what our founding fathers told us. This is what they set up. They set this up for a reason, so that we could protect ourselves from this engineered tyranny, manufactured wars overseas, and manufactured heists, economic and financial heists, that will cost and have costed already the American people dearly. We have a financial crash coming to the United States that will be far worse than anything that we have ever seen in 1929 or 2008. The bubble is bigger. The real estate bubble is now getting even bigger than it was before. The stock market is reaching all-time highs. This is easy credit, 0% interest rates. It's propelling the same bubble, but bigger, more violent, more aggressive than anything we've ever seen. And it will pop. It will collapse at some point in the future. And it will hurt the middle class, just like in 2008, 1929, and in the 30s and the Great Depression. It will hurt the good American people. And all of these criminals that organized it, engineered it, and have helped to propel us into war is a reset mechanism for resetting this massive amount of debt that can never be paid back. The only way it can be paid back is through a declaration of bankruptcy or a declaration of insolvency. and allowing our capital markets to actually work through the mess, which would result in a depression worse than what we had in the 1930s, is never going to happen. What is going to happen, and what is the agenda, and it's the reason people like me, and I haven't been the only one, many of you saw it coming as well, was able to tell you 36 months ago that Syria was a part of the Obama agenda to declare war, an overall and far-reaching war, a continuation of the George W. Bush policies in the Middle East. War is coming to the world. War is already here in America. There is a domestic war taking place courtesy of President Barack Obama through fanning the flames of these racist remarks, and it is destroying all of us. Wake up! Wake up! Understand the truth. Step into the light, step into righteousness, shun the evil, and step out of the darkness, my friends. I'm Christopher Green. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in. Please get this message out everywhere. My prayers, best wishes are with all of you guys. Hard-hitting and in your face.